One of the areas we looked into in relation to transport and distribution planning in a post-Brexit world was ferry transport. The roll-on, roll-off ferry industry has changed a lot since the beginning of this year. This is really down to the UK-EU trade rules, which commenced on January 1st of this year. This has brought on a huge increase in demand for direct ferry routes from Ireland to the EU and EU to Ireland to bypass the UK. Rosslare Europort experienced unprecedented demand for direct routes at the beginning of this year, while Stena Line reported a fall in demand on UK routes such as the Dublin to Holyhead route, which was down 70%, and the Belfast Liverpool route being down 26%, as well as the Rosslare to Fishguard route being down 75% as well. As 53% of Ireland's goods had travelled through the Channel Tunnel between the UK and France, this causing Irish companies having to reconsider their export routes to the continent. The move to direct ferry routes will depend on exporters' values such as cost and transit time. Exporters which care about cost and transit times are most likely to use direct ferry services. Haulage companies as well as the FTAI have suggested that 20 more weekly sailings are needed from Ireland to Europe to meet demand. Ferry companies such as DFDS providing more frequent routes from Ireland to Europe, such as their Rosslare to Dunkirk route, which consists of 3 ships doing 12 sailings per week, and at the start of this year they reported full capacity on this route. Here's just a quick video which relates to this issue.
This is Dublin Port, the main entry and exit point for haulage companies moving product to and from Ireland to the European mainland and beyond. The British exit from the EU means that trucks entering Irish ports will now have to undergo unpopular, lengthy and bureaucratic checks, particularly in the areas of agriculture, food and plants.
Consignments coming in from the UK will be subject to 2 types of checks. All consignments will be subject to customs checks, and then certain categories of consignments will be subject to what we call sanitary and phytosanitary checks, SBS checks. SBS checks will apply to all live animals, regulated plant and plant products, products of animal origins such as meat, milk, germinal products, semen, ova and embryos. They'll also apply to animal byproducts, as we call them. These are products that are not intended for human consumption.
England has always been a convenient land bridge for Irish haulage companies moving product to and from mainland Europe through numerous ports such as Calais and Rotterdam without restrictions. 200 kilometres away from Dublin, Rosslare Port is gearing up for major changes to prepare for increased haulage traffic. €100 million is being spent on new approach roads, car parks and infrastructure.
Many new problems have arisen due to Brexit, and I will be focusing on the effects of the new customs checks and new tariffs that have been introduced for businesses around Europe and the UK since the end of the Brexit transition period at the beginning of 2021. Now, why has there been the implementation of new tariffs and customs post-Brexit? And what could the effects be? And how will that affect us? It is because the United Kingdom and Northern Ireland have withdrawn membership from the European Union. Therefore, they have been removed from the European Customs Union and the European Single Market. As a result of this, the way in which the UK trades with other countries changes. There will now be a need for mandatory customs checks and searches on all goods and products moving to and from the UK and the EU. The changes involved include the requirement of customs and clearance documentation, checks to ensure conformity with environmental regulations, and proof of origin paperwork. European businesses that trade with the UK will now need to file customs declarations when any sort of goods or products are imported or exported to and from the UK. These declarations also apply to companies that are solely moving their goods through the UK. Any companies that deal with waste or certain hazardous chemicals must apply for a special trade license with the UK. This is also the case when transporting alcohol, tobacco or fuel. And what have been the effects on transport businesses post-Brexit? Well, delays to deliveries outward from the UK began almost immediately after the Brexit transition period ended. Reports indicate logistics companies have lost hundreds of man-hours from delays at ports due to customs checks. This was as a result of incorrect paperwork. Trucks have been queuing in miles of traffic and have even been turned back by customs agents. These delays in shipments are being caused by a lack of customs agents, as well as incorrect customs declarations taking time to fix. There are also additional costs that have arisen because the United Kingdom has left the European single market. Transport companies and distributors have had to bear the extra cost. A study from the University of Sussex shows that between 2.5 and 3.5 billion pounds of products exported from the United Kingdom had additional taxes applied to them. This was in the first 3 months of 2021 alone. Business owners are also stating that even though their companies will absorb some of the extra costs, us, the consumers, will have to pay more for the products after Brexit.
Another topic covered under the heading Transport and Distribution Planning in a post-Brexit world is supply chain delays affecting manufacturing and the distribution of clothing, food and petrol. Industries dependent on trade with the EU and dependent on EU migrant labour have been affected by Brexit as they have less market access, availability of skills and labour, and customs and regulations. Brexit has led to the shortage of truck drivers as EU drivers returned to their home countries because working in the UK involved additional borders which had an impact on their income. The result of this led to fuel shortages in the UK and drivers were rushing to gas stations to fill up. A rise in the cost of UK textiles and clothing may prompt European companies to reconsider their sourcing and shift to foreign suppliers. Almost 2% of retailers shifted manufacturing suppliers from the UK to the EU. Almost 2% of distribution warehouses, including Zara, have relocated to EU warehouses. This quick video explains how UK supermarkets and restaurants are concerned about the food distribution delays.
The supermarkets and takeaway chains have until now held back from voicing fears about Brexit. They didn't want to alienate customers who'd voted to leave. But with the distinct possibility tonight of a no-deal departure in just 60 days' time, Marks & Spencer, Waitrose, KFC, the Co-op and others have joined forces to warn of the effects of delays at ports. Price rises and empty shelves will follow, they say, and Eurotunnel has warned it still needs to know from the government what sort of checks it will need for trucks to keep running through the Channel Tunnel. Our economics correspondent, Helia Ebrahimi, has this.
A new sharply worded letter signed by the likes of Sainsbury's, M&S and McDonald's has warned that supermarket shelves will be left empty if the country crashes out of Europe. The warning makes clear that in March the situation will become even more acute as UK produce is out of season, meaning up to 90% of lettuces, tomatoes and soft fruit is reliant on imports from the continent. In the letter, some of Britain's biggest retailers say they're extremely concerned that their customers will be among the first to experience the realities of a no-deal Brexit. They warn of significant risks to maintaining the choice and quality that customers have come to expect. And they say there will be inevitable pressure on food prices from higher transport costs, currency devaluation and tax.